Hey, Coach Josh here. In this video, I'm going to be describing what to do after a relapse with an escort, prostitute, massage parlor, whatever. You need to understand what to do after a relapse because chances are you're going to feel stuck, you're going to feel hopeless, and you need to be able to understand why this went on and improve upon this to not repeat this mistake. Because if you don't learn anything from this, if you don't take anything away from this video, you're going to be headed down the inevitable path of doing it again. And I don't want that for you. You don't want that for you. So pay attention to what I'm about to be sharing with you on the whiteboard and try to apply some of these concepts to your life because you are in a very vulnerable position right now coming off of a relapse, and knowing what to do after the fact is very important for your success in the long run. So let's dive in. If you're new to my channel, I'm Coach Josh, founder of Purpose Over Pleasure, and it is my purpose to help men overcome their addiction to sex workers so they can enjoy the intimate relationships that they deserve. Now, let's dive into the 3 tips that I have for people after a relapse. Like, what can you do after a relapse? That's a very important concept to understand because if you're not doing the right things following a relapse, another one is inevitable. You need to be able to learn from this and grow from this, so you don't have this cycle continue and you can finally break free. So stick with me to the end of this video because I'm going to be giving you a 4th tip on how to really accelerate your recovery and be able to achieve that long-term freedom that you're looking for. So let's dive in. Now, the first step in all of this is to embrace the pain. And this is the exact opposite of what most people do. You know, most guys, after they relapse, they do one of 2 things. So they either, one, they double down on self-destructive behaviors. So they might feel bad, so they go and overeat, they go and drink, they go and smoke a bunch, or they even double down on their compulsive sexual behavior and act out again with the escort, act out again with the massage parlor, because it's better to feel something, feel some type of pleasure, than it is to sit in that pain and deal with it. And the other thing that a lot of guys do is just completely ignore it. They ignore the problem. They try to forget about the experience as quickly as possible. And that makes sense because, again, it's a painful thing that you want to escape, but you're simply just avoiding the problem. Like, how are you ever going to solve this thing if you're avoiding the problem, right? So you need to embrace that pain a little bit. I'll show you a kind of a good way to do that because really, a relapse isn't a setback if you can learn from it. Because in the grand scheme of things, like if you zoom out of your recovery and you look towards the future for the next couple of days, weeks, months, and maybe even years, if you were to learn from this one relapse and learn something about, the process and be able to grow from this thing, in the grand scheme of things, this is actually going to be a win. Now, that might be crazy to some of you, and I'm not saying a relapse is good or anything. It's awful in the short term, but if you can just simply learn from this and sit in that pain a little bit, you are going to be better off for the future, and it will be a win in the long run. So the way that you can do this is by incorporating the everything is data mindset, because this mindset is so great because it's not woo-woo or anything. It's real tangible, and it makes you objective about your recovery. So what I mean by that is if you were to have a relapse, while it is a failure technically, really what that is just data about your addictive cycle. And you can take that data and learn from it. So if you kind of come from recovery from that standpoint and take your emotions out of it and view everything as data, you can start to learn from, relapses that would destroy you in the past. So instead of feeling helpless and hopeless and stuck with this problem, you can now say, okay, if I can simply learn from this, I'm going to be better off. And that gives people hope. That is so important. So sit in the pain a little bit, and I'll show you how to do it, but really I just don't want you running from this problem anymore. I don't want you to double down on self-destructive habits or activities to escape the pain or just completely ignore it. We want to embrace it so we can learn from this, and I'll show you how. Now, we're going to go into step 2, which is collecting data. Now that we understand that data is important, well, what data do we collect? Like, how do we get this information? Well, I have a series of questions here that I'm going to ask you, and I don't need you to answer each and every single one. While that would be great, I just want you to focus on the one or two that really speak to you, because those are going to be the two biggest things that you can focus on in the future. So, where were you when you got the urge? When was it that you got the urge? Because the answers to that question might show you that, oh, when it's later at night, in the afternoon and I'm alone in my room, maybe that's a common time, like a common place for me to get an urge. And you can try to create a more structure or routine around that time. So why did you act out? Right? This is a bigger picture question, and you probably deep down know the answer to this. And the reason why you have to understand your motivation for acting out is because most people have pain agents, right? They feel lonely. They feel like they're not getting the intimacy that they want. They're having relationship issues or lack thereof, and they feel bad about that. There's probably a pain agent that's leading you to go and act out. And if you can identify what that is, what sparked the urge, why you're trying to find an escape, if you were to solve that problem, that pain agent, you're not only solving your recovery and making that a lot easier, but you're also solving a big problem that's in your life, right? So maybe you're stressed out, and that leads you to go and act out. And if you find better ways to deal with that stress, there you go. What is your response? So at this point, you got the urge, and you're dealing with it. What is your response? Are you just using willpower and you're trying to fight against your own body's natural desires and repress your own sexuality? Is that your course of action? Or was there an internal conflict that was going on? Like maybe there's one side of you that wanted to go and act out and another part of you that didn't. So maybe you had some rationalizations that popped up like, oh, this will be my last time, or, oh, I deserve this because I did a good day's work. Or I feel stressed out and I need to be able to find an escape from that. Or I'm undersexed, so I need to be able to get my needs met. There's probably some rationalizations that you can pull from if you just think about your response or that internal conflict a little bit. And if once you have that information, you can start to recognize some of the false beliefs that you might have that lead you to go and act out. Now, what was the point of no return? So this is a great question to ask because most times, in our addictive cycles, there's a point where we commit to going out. Like we did all these pursuing behaviors. Like we went online, we compulsively cruise for escorts, we texted them a little bit, and we get in our car and we go to the bank. And somewhere in there was a decision to we're in at this point and we're going to commit to it. There might still be an internal conflict after the fact, but there's probably a moment where you just said, it is what it is. Because if you know where the point of no return was, you understand where you need to focus your attention and make some changes within your own recovery. Now, the infamous question, this is something that I ask all of my clients every single time I do an onboarding session with them. And the reason why I ask them this question is because it gives me an understanding of their motivation, why they're stuck, why they're continuing to act out. There can be a different pain agent, but the motivation, the internal motivation can be different. So the question that I ask them is this. When you're doing the pursuing behaviors, when you're going to see the escort, how do you feel? Because there's two extremes. On one end, there's the type of guy that feels sick to his stomach. He feels numb of the shame and guilt, and he feels really, really bad about everything he's doing. He's like, oh, I can't believe I'm doing this again. And he's fueled off of this shady, dark energy, and that's leading him to go and act out. And that's what's happening as he's traveling. And on the other extreme, there's the guy that feels Nothing at all. He doesn't feel bad whatsoever. He's fueled off the pleasure. He can't wait to get that, pleasurable escape that he's been looking for. So which side of the spectrum do you fall on more? Because if you're on the side of the spectrum where you're fueled off of that shady, dark energy, you feel kind of sick to your stomach, you're numb, you feel shameful, guilty, that proves that the reason why you're continuing to go and act out is because you're stuck in the cycle of shame and guilt. Now, you'll think that shame and guilt is a deterrent, and it most certainly is. It's your body saying like, hey man, don't do that. It doesn't feel good. But what happens is that shame and guilt lowers your self-esteem significantly. And if you dwell on it too much and you try to find escape by doubling down on, self-destructive behaviors, or ignore the problem altogether, your self-esteem is lowered, and because you feel like shit about yourself, because you're not feeling good, you want to find escape from that and you go and act out again. So it's really important to see if you're on that side. And if you're on the other side and you're really fueled off that pleasure and you can't wait, there's no real bad, dark feelings that you're feeling, you just can't wait to get that pleasure, then your course of action would just to be to get that pleasure elsewhere, right? Where can you get that same hit in other areas of your life? And that question right there can give you a starting point on how to really attack this thing. Now, once you answer that question, you can honestly answer this one, which is, what can you do better? What can I do better in the future? Because if you're just to be really honest about this, there's probably a couple things that you can come up with. And that is what you're going to focus on. Now let's dive into the third tip, which is countermeasures. Countermeasures are so important to talk about because most guys, after a relapse, they just go back to doing the same thing that they're doing beforehand. They don't change a thing. And a relapse is a series of unaddressed slips. It's not like it just happened. It's not as compulsive as you want to tell yourself. There's a lot of things that built up to it, but you're probably not being intentional or being aware of what really leads up to a full-blown relapse. So with that said, if it's just a series of unaddressed slips, you need to use these countermeasures. So let's say you get a fantasy, over the next week or so, and the next time you get an intrusive thought to go and act out, I want you to check yourself by using a little bit of self-talk. So if you were to get a fantasy and you're to go, no, that's not good, I shouldn't do that, that doesn't serve me, that actually solves it. That actually checks it. Because if you're just a little bit intentional about moving in the right direction and checking yourself when you're going and taking action in the wrong direction, you can actually start to achieve great results. And it all starts with checking small fantasies like that. Or let's say you get a craving, you get a real intense urge, maybe using some self-talk to remind yourself of your why. Are you a father? Are you a husband? Do you have a girlfriend? What's your why? Do you want a family one day? What is the motivation to actually stay clean and not go and see a sex worker? And finally, if it's a real intense craving, you can pair that with a clearing action. And I've explained this in some of my other videos, but what that would be is just simply changing your environment or doing something else. Finally, let's say you start to compulsively cruise, right? You start to go online, look for some escorts, you start to go online and watch some porn or text some people. Let's say you were able to stop yourself, probably using a lot of willpower at that point. You need to do a self-intervention and kind of run through these questions to be able to find data about what's really going on here, because collecting data never really stops. The more data you have, the better. And the reason why I'm really trying to incorporate this everything is data mindset and have we answer all these questions is because early on, data is king. Data is extremely important. And if you can just sit in that pain a little bit and kind of talk to yourself why is this going on? Fresh right after you go and do something, you're going to be not only taking action in the right direction, but you're actually going to get more information about what works and what doesn't, so you can further refine the process and make it easier for you. Now, these are the 3 steps, and as promised, I have a 4th step to be able to accelerate your growth, accelerate your recovery, and prevent you from relapsing again. Because relapsing and going through this struggle is kind of like trial and error. Sometimes you feel like it's 3 steps forward, you're doing great, and then all of a sudden, you're taking 10 steps back, and you feel like all your progress is gone. You're back to where you were, and it can be very demotivating. It can make you feel hopeless, and it can make you feel stuck. And I just want you to avoid all that headache and that heartache of sitting in that pain, and to be able to help you accelerate the process of recovery and get to the point where you can achieve freedom from all these things. I want you to go and get help, because if you're still silently struggling with this thing on your own, it's a battle. You really can't do this thing on your own. And when you actually have someone in your corner helping you out with this thing, not only does it make the entire process so much easier, but it allows you to finally get to the point where you can achieve freedom from all these sexual vices that have been holding you back for probably some time now. And if you're aligned with everything that I've been describing in this video, you see my methods, you like who I am, you see how I can serve people and give valuable information, and you want to see if Recovery Blueprint Program works for you, what I'd advise for you to do is just go down a link below and just check out what the program is. I put together a very quick video explaining what it is, how it works, who it's for, and some of the testimonials this program has gotten. And the great thing about this is it's no other program out there. I'm the only one on the internet talking about this thing. I'm the only one on the internet have the balls to even come out here and explain these things to you. And what you are buying with Recovery Blueprint Program is not coaching. It's not sessions like it is in therapy. You are buying the outcome of finally being able to break this addiction once and for all, so you can finally enjoy the intimate relationships that you deserve and just overall have a more fulfilling life. That's what I do different. So go down the link below, check that out, and maybe even schedule a onboarding call with me to get you enrolled into the program, and we'll go from there. So if you enjoy these whiteboard presentations, please let me know. I'll continue to do them. I enjoy them more than just sitting and staring at the camera. So like and subscribe. Let me know how you like this, and I'll see y'all boys in the next one. Peace.